Hey, welcome back to the ezeep API Postman video series. In this video, we are going to prepare a file upload. This means leaving a space open in our Microsoft Azure storage so that we can send a file in our next request. So this comes in two parts. First, we need to tell Azure that, yes, you need to leave a space open for us and give us a URI. So let's look at the documentation. For this prepare file upload, it's simply a GET request because we're going to get a file ID and an SAS URI. This SAS URI will be what we're using in the next video. So that will be the endpoint we need to send our file. But right in this video, we're simply going to make space for that file, and then we will turn this file ID, which we use in printing. So in this video, we're going to set up the request, and then we're going to save these as variables in our ezeep Blue environment. So what do we need first? Well, we need the endpoint first, which is a GET request, so we'll add that quickly. Prepare file upload, we're in the right place. And it's got the / at the end. It's a GET request. Okay, that's good so far. And we are definitely going to add the authorization, and we should be getting used to that by now. Oh, look, it's saved for us. Cool. And it's going to be bearer. And we know what to do now. The double brackets, double curly brackets, and access token. Okay, so that's saved. What else do we need? Example request. Well, according to this example request, that's pretty much it. We just need the endpoint and we need our access token. So let's take this for a spin to see what happens. And there we go. There's our file ID, which looks correct, and there are our SAS URI. But we're going to need these. And we don't want to have to keep copying and pasting every time we go through this process. So we are going to create a variable. So we're going to have to go to the tests again, and it will be the same workflow as we did last time. We are going to take the response and save it as a variable. So we're going to save it as JSON data again. And remember JSON.parse as we did last time. And we want the response body. It's like when we saved the access token. Okay, when you have two values here, and we definitely need both of them, so we're going to create another variable for file ID. We're going to look in the JSON data, because we know it's there, and then we are going to select file ID. So file ID equals JSON data.file ID. That looks good. And then we need to create a variable for the SAS URI as well, SAS URI, however you want to call it. Equals that also JSON data dot let's make sure it's spelled exactly the same as this, just one capital U. Okay. JSON data.SAS URI. Okay, so what we want to do is now we want to set two variables, and we still have that snippet here? Set an environment variable, and we're going to do that again. So the first variable, we'll just keep the same names. We're going to call it file ID, and the second variable is going to be SAS URI. Super. And to add this, we already have our variables here, so we just need to add the variables without the quotation marks there. So the file ID will be file ID. Let's make sure the spelling is correct, and the SAS URI will be, you got it, SAS URI. We have quotations still there, that's why it's giving an error. Okay, so we have our params. No, we didn't need any params. We didn't need authorization because that's covered by the authorization bearer. And that's all we need. We have our GET request with our URL and our access token, which is fine. We have some data there. Okay, let's see if this works. So if we set everything up correctly, we are going to get a file ID, SAS URI in our environment. Currently, we only have the access token. So let's do this. Okay, so we have a new file ID, a new SAS URI. Do we have the environment variable saved? Yes, we do. File ID is apparently null. Why is that null? But the SAS URI worked out well. Okay, so let's see what our tests, see what happened here File ID. That's because when we selected file ID, we used JSON data.file ID, but we had a capital I, and in the response there is no capital I, it's a lowercase I. This is why you need to watch out for spelling mistakes. Okay, let's do it again. We'll send the request again, which means we'll get a new file ID, perfect, and a new SAS URI, and okay, perfect. Now we have our file ID saved, which is the most recent one, and we have the most recent SAS URI as well. Super, so now we'll be able to access those in our next request, which will be the file upload, where we're actually going to send a file to the Microsoft Azure storage using the SAS URI. I will see you in that video.